How to leverage credit to build wealth. In this video, I'm going to talk about the number one mistake everyone makes with their credit, whether it's corporate credit or personal credit. And yes, I will describe the difference. Here's what you're going to learn. You're going to learn the number one, obvious thing that everyone does wrong. You're going to learn the difference between personal and corporate credit. You're going to learn, even more importantly, a new language and relationship to credit cards and debt. And most importantly, I'm going to share with you how I have helped many students get more than six figures, like over $100,000 in new credit. So here's the number one mistake that everyone makes. They pay their credit cards off usually once or twice during the month. So let's just say you have 4 credit cards, right? And these are, let's just assume they're personal credit cards, is that you pay them off on the 1st or the 15th or whatever day you decide to sit down and pay your bills. And so what happens is that at that exact moment, you are currently out of debt, like officially. Now, the next day you might start spending and using card number 1 and card number 2 and card number 3, but you're out of debt. So let's back up and talk about the financial system. It is what it is. You can complain about it, whine about it, cry about it, or just say, interesting, that's the system. How do I work efficiently and effectively within it? So here's how it works. They actually want to see you moving money through the system. They want to see that you always have money in the system. So why a lot of you can, you say, and I believe me, I don't know how many thousands of people say, Loral, you're asking me to do blah, 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 and I don't have any access to money and I can't get any more credit cards. My credit cards are maxed out. Nobody will loan me any money. Well, here's your answer to that. They shouldn't. You're so irresponsible with it. They shouldn't borrow you any money. You don't know what to do with it, right? There's this biblical saying, if you're not responsible for the little you have, you sure in the heck aren't getting any more. I kind of ad-libbed that a little, but you get the point. So here's how you really do it. You want money moving through the system. You want to make money. You want to spend money. And all of this is very responsible and methodical. So if you had 4 credit cards, here is how you spend. First of all, let's just say week 1, you pay off card number 1. Then you start using it again. Week 2, you pay off card number 2, start using it again. Week 3, pay off 3. So you're never out of debt completely. You want to have this rolling debt. You want this rolling credit is what we call it. So you're going to have a little bit always in the system. Super, super simple. And you don't ever want them, you don't want to go on and on and on. You do want to pay them off every month. I'm a huge fan of paying them off every month. But what you want is little bits of payments on each of the cards. Now, the other mistake people make is they have 1 card. Well, that's not going to help. That's called a real thin credit score. We want you to have more. I can tell you, Discover and American Express are giving cards away like water. They have lots and lots of choices that don't cost any money. So if you don't have one, you need to go out and get some more. So you're actually using more cards more effectively in the system. And they don't have to be big purchases. Like when my son was 18, he got 2 cards, now he has 4. So he used 1 dedicated to gas and 1 was for groceries or just other things as he headed off to college. So it was just little bits of money every month, but it started rotating his credit and he never paid him off at the same time. So that's just kind of obvious number 1. And I know a lot of you had really misinformation about that. So the difference between personal credit and corporate credit is just that. So you as an individual and your social security number, you get credit. Right? And whatever you do with it, right? You did well or you didn't, but I promise you, you do need to get it cleaned up, whatever you've done. And I have a brilliant woman on my team who does that. Corporate credit is when you have a company, an LLC, an S Corp, a C Corp, and you start building that company's credit because it has its own tax ID number. It can get its own credit cards. And then say you get company number 2, and then it gets its own corporate credit cards. So a lot of my clients, as they become millionaires, will have 2, 3, maybe 4 companies and their own. So now you have 4 sources of credit. 5 sources of credit, right? So yes, you have credit cards in each of them because you don't want to commingle things, right? If you got a real estate company, it's not going to buy supplies or things for your whatever other kind of company you have, right? Say you have a chiropractic business, you don't want to combine them, but they each have corporate credit and you have personal credit. So that's the difference between those two. Now let's talk just about debt. Debt is the cost of money. That's it. What does it cost you? Does it cost you 1% and 2%, 3%? Right now you get a mortgage. The cost of that money is about 2 to 3%. A lot of vehicle companies right now, guess what? 0% for months and months and months. So why would you ever pay off a $20,000, $30,000, $50,000, $70,000 car? Ever. What a ridiculous idea. First of all, you're going to rotate your vehicle. Very few people keep one car forever. Usually every 3 to 5 years they rotate. So why would you take that big chunk of money, let's just call it a $50,000 vehicle, and they gave it to you for free to use, right? Free. You keep your 50 grand, go invest it. If you invested it for 10%, you'd make $5,000. Right? If you invested it for 12, you get $6,000, divide by 12, you made $500 a month. So would you rather have a car for free and take your 50 and put it to work and make $500 a month? The answer is obvious, right? But a lot of you're trained wrong. You go waste $50,000, you pay down your car. Why? Just because you're out of debt? You're not thinking properly about debt and money. So wealth builders, we're comfortable with debt. See, there's good debt and bad debt. Like that car, that's good debt. It's free. They're gonna let you have it. Your house, darn near free, 2 to 3%. So you're not going to pay off your house either. Why would you say your house is $400,000? Maybe you have 100 down and you're financed 300. Again, 300,000 last I checked, put to work at 12%. That's $36,000. That's $3,000 a month. If you paid that 300,000 and paid off your house, you're not making 3,000 a month. So I want you to wake up. Like, money is just money. And I would rather have you be the bank. Take that 300, have someone pay you 3,000 versus you waste it and pay down really cheap money. So hope that lesson gets it. There's good debt and there's bad debt. Good debt's amazing and it's all over the place. Like, I'm a hard money lender. I love being the bank, right? I have my money out on different loans for construction, for retail financing, all sorts of variety of things. So I'm getting paid 10s, 12, 15%. People are paying me to use my money. That's what wealthy people do, by the way. If you want to know what we do with our money, we usually become the bank for people who can't figure out how to get money, and you pay us a lot of money for it. So my goal and my job here on this channel is to have you wake up and get smarter. If you're enjoying this, I want you to stop right now. Go down here and click and subscribe and say, hello, this is amazing. I want to understand how I'm going to use credit to become wealthy. So first of all, you're going to use other people's money, like mine, like other people's. And by the way, there's tons. Just in the 401k and the IRA sector of the world, there's trillions of dollars horribly invested. So your job, if you want to say go do a fix and flip and you need 100,000, somebody's going to borrow it to you. Yeah, you might have to pay a little bit more in interest, but the project should have that profit built in. So what wealthy people do is we use other people's money. Let me give you another story about me personally. So I was, running and gunning. I became a millionaire in 1999, and I think it was around 2005 and 6. I wanted to buy some laundromats in Northern California. So I went to my bank and I said, hey bank, I need $200,000 to buy this laundromat. And they said, well, you have 200,000. I said, I know, but it's invested already. I'm making, let's just call it 10, 12, 15%. So I don't want to have to divest that. I want your money, and I've given you a lot of money. So let me just give you a little tip on how banks work. Let's just say you deposit 100,000 over the course of a year. That gives them the right to go up and get $1 million. They get to 10x from the central bank. And then what they get to do is borrow it out in other loans. I went in and I said, well, I've given you millions of dollars. So let's just say I gave him $1 million. So, and I had this all tracked. So you got to go get 10 million on my million. So this time, this is about being partners. Here we are, banker, and he kind of laughed at me. And I said, I'm serious. I said, I want your money. I want 200,000, and I want no interest payment. I said, you've had millions that you've been able to make money because of my money in your bank. Now, I'll teach on a whole different video and a whole different education what banks do. And it is what it is. It's kind of a cool model. So why can't you become a bank? And you can. But what I did is I went in and I said, go to committee and ask what you can get. So I got a $200,000 loan for 2%. That was almost free to get a laundromat. So I kept my money invested. I used their money to go buy a laundromat, which I made great cash flow every month. And I paid 2% for that money. So that's how you use credit and banks and the system to get really wealthy. And so there's credit cards you can use, there's funding, there's SBAs, there's grants. I've used Department of Conservation, gives huge grants. I'm gonna go apply for that. I have a big solar company I'm growing. I'm gonna go get one of those conservation grants. That's free money. See, a lot of you think you have to make it because you're used to being that occupational employee and you think you have to do all the work, and you don't. Credit and other people's money and banks have a great wide open door for those of you that are smart and really well put together business owners. So what I want you to do is I want you to click on the link below in the description. It's going to take you to a video that I shot. Phenomenal, on how you become a 3 to 5 year millionaire. Now that you're starting to get the strategies on how do you use credit, how to use other people's money, it's time to roll up your sleeves and get to it. And in that video is an amazing, amazing plan and education.